Hello everyone, are you having a good Indie Author Fringe online conference so far? I know I am. So much great information and a treat now in this next session for you too. I am about to go inside to talk to Robin Cutler, who is Director of Ingram Spark, and Andy Bromley, who works for Ingram here in the UK. We're going to be talking about print books. Is print more trouble than it's worth? I know some of you think so, but Ingram Spark have invested in the opposite idea and in making it as easy as possible for you to produce great print books at minimum cost and at a maximum efficiency. So let's find out more about that. So, Robin and Andy from Ingram, thank you so much for dropping by to talk to us today.
I'm really happy to be here.
It's great to have you as part of Indie Fringe and of course our gold sponsors, and we're really thrilled to have you on board, and I'm really interested to talk to you today about print, and our title for our talk is print more trouble than it's worth? Now I know you're probably going to say it's not.
No, absolutely not.
But before we get to that, could you just tell people a little bit, for those who don't know about Ingram Spark and who haven't met you before, just introduce yourself, talk a little bit, Robin, we'll start with you, a little bit about how you came to Ingram and how you've come to Indie Authors.
Yeah, I'm really happy. I am Robin Cutler. I'm the Director of Ingram Spark. And as you know, Orna, we launched Ingram Spark about 3 years ago, come July. And what we wanted to do at Ingram was create a platform that was especially designed for indie authors and publishers. As you know, Ingram had Lightning Source, which is our print-on-demand company, for close to 20 years now, huh, Andy? Yeah. But that wasn't really designed for, an indie customer. So we wanted to create a platform that was a little bit easier to use, a little more streamlined, offered print-on-demand service, Ingram distribution, as well as ebook distribution, all together sort of in one nice little package. And that's essentially what Ingram Spark is. Yeah. Do you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, as Robin mentioned, we've always had print on demand for a considerable amount of time, but the language, the tone, the setup, the approach was very much a B2B business. Yeah. And the development of Spark was our first foot in being a step closer to who the actual, the consumer, the reader, the writer is.
And when you say we, you personally actually were quite instrumental in making this happen.
Yes. It's kind of, I would say Ingram Spark is sort of my baby, and I feel like it is sort of a teenager now. We've kind of, and maybe even adult, maybe a young adult now, would you say? Yeah, we've kind of grown up through these last few years, especially with some of the great customers that we've had to work with and had the privilege to work with, and the feedback that we've gotten from, a great organization like Ally. It's been a great partner for Ingram Spark from the very beginning, and that's been really, really a great partnership for us.
And indeed for us. So talk to us a little bit about indie authors. Why are they important to you? What was it about that group of writers that attracted you and that made you want to kind of serve them with this platform?
I mean, I think there's a recognition that as technology improves, the traditional models have been disrupted, and authors from all across the spectrum are deciding to independently publish, self-publish, for all manner of things. We have a range of authors who have been traditionally published or could quite easily be traditionally published, but they want to own their own intellectual property, they want their own creative freedom. So we've recognised, I think, for a number of years that movement and industry is growing. Technology is improving to facilitate that transition. And I think the development of Ingram Spark came about through a recognition that this isn't a fad; it's not going to go away, and you either get on board and develop services that support it, or you fade away and become part of the old old world that used to be. So, Ingram serves both camps. So we have lots of services that are for the traditional publishing sector, and we have lots for the indie, and we have many that cross over. And I think a lot of it is we use the word, I use the word independently published, because we don't necessarily differentiate between somebody who's the author and the publisher, and somebody who is a publisher and has many authors.
Sure.
Yeah.
And the process then, if we talk about print books first, and I know you also distribute ebooks, we'll talk a little bit about that at the end, but just to return to the topic in question today, we hear a lot in the indie author community about print is over, print has had its day, ebooks are where it's at. So, do you agree?
Well, I think that was the expectation even a few years ago. I think especially with the development of all the reading platforms like Kindle, was definitely on the rise and made it really easy, for readers to consume more content. But I think what's happened over the last few years is that probably in certain genres, is still primary. Romance is one of those where it's the romance reader primarily consumes through an platform. But other genres, that's not necessarily the case. And even with romance, because I attend a lot of romance, and where we were together last when was that? September.
Yeah.
September at NINC, Novelist Inc. In St. Petersburg, Florida. More and more, there's their own readers who also want a print edition, and by not providing that, you're assuming what your reader wants, what format they want. My view is that if you provide as many formats as you can afford as a writer, you are giving various options to readers that you might not be able to attract by offering multiple formats. So print for us has been growing in the last few years. Print on demand, especially, I think, has become sort of a standard operating procedure for how to bring a book into print. It reduces the cost to get a print book to market, greatly reduces what it used to be. And so to me, there's no reason not to do print now.
And I was going to say, I think what the e-book has done is it may have created a world of uncertainty in terms of the numbers that you may need to print. So, in the old model where you would print 5,000, 10,000 print runs, that's becoming less certain. So POD mitigates some of that risk, because and also some of the formats like children's books, print is very much the dominant format, because usually, depending on the age range, the parents sit down with their child, read the book, the paperback, or the hardback in front of their children. It's not quite the same experience with a Kindle, with an ebook type format.
Because I think this is what puts people off if they haven't actually done the investigation. They hear the word print on demand or whatever, they don't fully understand what it means, and think that print means my garage is going to be
filled with boxes
that I'm not going to be able to get rid of. I don't want to get into the post office. I don't want to spend, if I want to write, I want to get my books out to readers. I don't want to spend my days going up and down, posting books.
Yeah, who would? I mean, who would want? That sounds horrible for you to even say it, right? And it is horrible. I used to be a publisher. I mean, managing inventory and, packing books up, schlepping them to the post office is the bane of existence as a publisher, and even more so as an author, I think.
So for those who may not understand, can you explain how POD actually does away with all of that?
Yeah, it's kind of a seamless kind of process where the book is completely done. And I always say, if you want a professional book, make sure you work with professionals, and I know you say that too. make sure you've had it edited and designed, and you have digital formats of your book. And once you have that, you just upload it into Ingram Spark or whatever platform you want to use. But we're talking about Ingram Spark today. And then the book can go into distribution if you choose. And once it's in distribution, it's in the Ingram catalog, where Ingram's 39,000 retail library partners have the ability to order it. When we have an order, we actually print it when we get that order. There's nothing in inventory. We actually physically print it at the time we get the order. And then the order is fulfilled directly to the customer. And then we pay the content owner of that content based on the discount that they set on the book. They have the list price, the discount off the list price minus the cost of printing. So they get paid for that sale, and they haven't really had to do anything to enable that sale, except for making sure that the customer that's buying it knows about it, right?
The marketing.
Yeah.
And I think certainly for those who are watching who are based in the UK, it's important to note that we do obviously connect directly with retailers, the major retailers in the UK, but we also connect with the major wholesalers. So, the bookstore may decide to order direct from Lightning Source or Ingram. They may decide to order from their preferred supplier, their local wholesaler, like Gardner's or Bertram's. And we supply the wholesalers in those major markets as well. So the bookstore, or the retailer online can buy direct in many cases, or they could and they choose to buy through their local wholesaler, who would in turn would supply direct.
Okay, and are you seeing a lot of indie books going through the wholesale book, the shop market, if you want to, the bookstore market?
I think it ranges quite considerably depending on the author, their relationship with the readers and the bookstores. I mean, certainly there's been a lot of success where the authors in their local community have a relationship with their bookstores, they buy their consumers themselves. And in those situations, there's lots of evidence that they get their books into the stores. The challenge is getting the major the major chains to supply to stock the book, but a lot of independents who have a relationship with the authors. And actually the most successful independent bookstores are the ones that understand how they can differentiate between the chains by having more of a community feel, having author engagement programs where the authors come do book signings or readings, and so they generally help each other. The successful authors and the successful independent bookstores know that their differentiation is their community that they serve.
Sure. So it's a case of indie stores and indie authors making a nice marriage to kind of come together. So that is what you might call small scale book selling through the stores. At the larger level of chains, and is it a matter of at that end things are getting more and more corporate and bigger and economies of scale, and then at the other end you have this thriving sort of makers and indie movement. Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the larger chains, there's different ways in which they can source the book. So the more challenging one is having the books as part of their staple buying program. So they'll buy X amount of books. Usually, a big chain in the UK and in the US will tend to buy books 3 to 6 months in advance. So one of the things I always encourage independent authors to do is to set a pre-publication date, because typically a chain, a head office will buy books. They'll make those buying decisions 6 months before the book's already published. So if you're only starting out your marketing and your networks marketing to bookstores upon publication, you're already 6 months later than the buy. Now, what a lot of the retail stores, bricks and mortar stores may do is they'll order on. So if the customer asks for a particular book, they don't have it in stock, they can
Special order.
Yeah. or many of them will carry a wider range of titles on their website. So, Waterstones, for example, has an extensive retail bookstore chain, but they also have a very successful online presence. Mm-hmm. And we have technology which enables retailers to virtually stock, so they can show titles that they may not have in inventory, may not have them in stock, but we can work with the retailer on a virtual inventory basis. So, the idea of the customer can buy it on, let's say, a Waterstones website, and we could fulfill the order on their behalf. And again, the book still isn't printed until it's ordered, but it's the same kind of arrangement.
And what sort of timing are we talking about for turnaround and dispatch and arriving at the reader?
Typically, the book is printed when a retail or an Ingram customer orders the book within 48 hours and shipped out directly to that customer. Now, the bookstore, if we send it out directly on behalf of the retailer to the end consumer, it's whatever the regular shipping time is for that. When it goes back to the store, maybe the store's, it's a special order. It's very quick turnaround for retailers. It's kind of amazing. It's a little bit longer turnaround, say, if someone's going to order print copies for themselves. Those are called publisher direct orders, and those are a little bit less priority because of Ingram's relationship with retailers. We want to, some cases we have to get the order out, by a certain period of time. Especially in the case of Amazon, that's true. So that's something that is amazingly fast in the print-on-demand world, that we can do that. It's astounding to me. The other thing I want to point out is this isn't just about indie authors. This is also traditional publishers are using print-on-demand exactly the way we've been talking about here. It could be that it's a bestseller book on their list, but they're using print on demand in cases to fulfill a period of time when maybe they don't have any inventory. So print on demand's like just becoming just part of everyday, part of the publishing strategy for most traditional publishers.
Yeah, and certainly within academic publishing, there are multinational publishing houses now who've moved to a print. Yeah. They don't want to print any stock
print on demand
until they make the sale. And these are companies that
major
multi-million-pound multinational organisations who shifted to that model because of the type of product that they're selling and the price that they're charging in the market. They would rather print as they get an order rather than take a bet on a 500 print run and hope then to sell that 500.
Yeah, the other thing that I like to stress, especially for a first-time author that's publishing their own work, is the value of print on demand. If you're going to go print, is you're not stuck. Like if you find that you've made a mistake somewhere that a reviewer points out, all you have to do is fix it, and there's nothing sitting, there's not boxes of that mistake sitting in your basement. If you get an endorsement or win an award, you always want to be able to refresh that book with that information, and you can easily do that through the print-on-demand model.
And with the ally code, if they need to make a revision, such as they spot a mistake or they get an award, they can make that revision at no cost.
Fantastic. And you mentioned Amazon there. Those who think of Ingram and Amazon as being competitors might be surprised to hear that
we're collaborators. Amazon's our biggest customer as well, and yes, so it is a competitive / collaborative relationship.
There are a lot of those in publishing.
Yeah, especially in the Ingram world. I like to say we're Switzerland. We work with everybody.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So can we talk about pricing? Because you mentioned price, Andy, and of course those lucky academic publishers can charge £60 or £100 for a book.
Yeah.
Indie authors are not so fortunate.
It's a little more challenging.
Yes. So you know, again, there's a perception, and you correct if it's wrong, or let's address it, that print-on-demand books are significantly more expensive than a consignment print run. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
I would say unit-wise, that's probably true. So that is challenging. You know, I like to say, you know, the bigger the book is, the more it's going to cost. So make sure, especially the first time around, that you are not making the book so prohibitively large, or especially children's books, we see this where, you know, they just have expanded it bigger than it probably should have been to begin with. And that's going to increase the cost. So it is, I would say, a couple of dollars more per unit to do a print-on-demand book. That's the downside. The good side is you should look at your total investment of what it costs to bring that book to market. You may, if you go traditional, if you have a book traditionally printed, you know, you're going to have to store that somewhere, so there's a cost to that. You're going to have to ship it. There's shipping materials you have to invest in. So when you look at the total expense to sort of source a book that's traditionally printed compared to a POD book, it's not that much different. But you have to look at the whole thing instead of just the unit cost of print.
Yeah. Sure. And certainly some of the larger traditional publishers who use POD use our services. They may not use it because their printing is the cheapest, but it may be the best from their whole supply chain. So, for example, some of the large academic publishers may only sell 10% of their print run for Australia, but then they still need, they've got the high cost
of getting it there.
They've got to get it into the Australian market. So they put it through our, in this case, Lightning Source, but you know, equally it worked the same in Ingram Spark, where if the end customer is in Sydney, it would print it in Melbourne. If it's in America, it would print it in the US. If they're in Edinburgh, we'd print it in Milton Keynes. So that takes a lot of the cost down. But yeah, if you simply look at it on a print by print, it's it's apples and pears, really, isn't it? Because you've got to look at the other costs that come with the supply of getting it to the end customer.
But for the indie who wants to create a print-on-demand book, even though it's going to be printed in Australia, it's just one dashboard for everyone all around the world?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And the way you control or enable global distribution for your title is to just provide the pricing into the different markets. If you say you've sold your U.S. rights, and you don't want to make it available in the U.S., you just don't provide a U.S. price in the Ingram Spark dashboard.
And I know that a lot of our members who don't live in the Amazon-enabled territory, shall we say, rely on Ingram Spark hugely for their ebook distribution as well. So just talk to me a little bit then about ebooks, just briefly. Same dashboard, same setup. Just can you kind of walk us through what the indie experience is when they go on?
Yeah, it's the same process primarily. You can choose to set your book up for print only, ebook only, or both together. And you would have done, you would have edited and designed your book. And on the e-side, there's services that can convert for you, or you can do it yourself. You're probably smart enough to do your own ebook. But some people need help along those lines. So once you have your EPUB, just like your PDF or your print, you provide your metadata, the information about your book, and you provide it, if you're doing both formats, you provide it just once for both, that's kind of handy. It's also handy if you want to, if you win an award. You can go into that one dashboard, make that update one time, and then forevermore it goes out, into the data feeds. You upload your files, and then turn it on for distribution, and you're ready to go. So it's fairly straightforward, don't you think?
Mm.
So there is a perception in some parts of the indie author community that print is a lot of trouble. You don't think so, do you?
Well, I certainly don't. I think that it is something that you should offer your reader. The reader should be deciding, what format they want to read anything in. And I think that we're going to see more and more opportunity for readers to be making these decisions that publishers and now indie publishers are having to make. You're going to see more and more going forward, I think, into the future, where readers are going to have wider choice. They'll be able to make all kind of decisions on what they want that in format that they want to read in. So print allows readers that prefer to read in print to read a piece of work. And there's no getting around that. I mean, I prefer to read in print. After I've been on a computer all day long, the last thing I want is to curl up in bed with another computer. I'm serious.
I think in terms of the question about more trouble than it's worth it, I think that question, it depends on the technical competencies of the. A good writer may not be a good designer, may not be a good proofreader, and may not be the best typesetter. So I guess it's having a budget and being prepared that the areas that you're not as competent in, that you can outsource those elements. So, trying to do the whole thing very professionally from the beginning to end can be trouble, because there's lots of skill sets required in terms of setting the file up correctly, getting your ISBN, picking a design that is suited to. So there are some areas where an author can do it themselves and save costs, but there may be other areas based on their skill levels where it's better to pay somebody to do that element that would be more troublesome than if they were to try and do it themselves.
Yeah, I think it's inevitable. It's something that Ally we talk about a lot. That self-publishing is a bit of a misnomer.
Yes.
No good book is ever produced.
Yes.
Or I can't imagine.
As an island.
I can't imagine a good book coming from just one person. So you have to decide, I'm good at this, I'm not so good at that, and get help, either pay for it or beg somebody or whatever, and it makes all the difference.
And even, I personally haven't written a book, but even just writing short marketing copy, I would never proofread my own work because I'd read past my own mistakes. So getting a third eye, looking at the content, and is highly advised.
It's essential, editorial particularly. When people ask me what is the best marketing, I always say good editor.
Yes.
That is the starting point anyway.
Yeah, well, and I say, and I know you say this too, Warna. If you want a professional book, you need to work with professionals, professional editor, professional designer. And if you can't afford a professional marketer, it's definitely the way to go. And in terms of, if it's more trouble, once your book is created and you have had the editing and the design work, it's fairly easy to produce your book in different formats from there. So is it trouble? I think it's not that much trouble, and you're kind of discounting readers, and their needs and wants by assuming what you think everybody wants. I don't think you could be missing out on a market that you hadn't anticipated by doing that and discounting print.
And the things that used to be a great deal of trouble, like distribution and getting it to the reader, are in fact with VOD.
It's all part of the same deal. It's like in line, and what is trouble is if you are a new author and you print your book, it is hard then to get that printed book into distribution as a brand new, untested. Nobody knows what the demand is. You don't have any sales history. That is trouble.
Yeah.
The way that it works with Ingram Spark, where you have print-on-demand service and distribution kind of packaged together, that's easy. And that is the easiest way.
Yeah, and there's that sinking feeling at trade shows when an author comes up to you
I hate it.
and they say, I've printed 1,000 copies in my spare room. How do I distribute? And it's like, if only we'd spoken... a few weeks prior to you putting that 1,000-unit order in, because it's just the wrong way of going.
It's the worst way to go.
It is the worst, and I feel bad too. But and I also will say there's certain books and certain the way a book is formatted that don't lend themselves to POD. You know, if you have a coffee table book, or if you have some kind of thing where the format really matters.
Yeah, obviously the pop-up books.
Yeah, that can't work in a POD environment.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And of course, there is also the option a consignment print might work better for somebody who has maybe a speaking gig thing and they sell books in the back of the room or whatever, because that unit cost will be lower for them
Yes.
than if they were to use POD.
And what I say is print traditionally just to have yourself a stash, right? But then what also works is to then also have the print on demand for distribution. And that way, combined, you do have a lower unit cost. You know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah. And you probably tell people to do that, right?
Yeah, I think that
Yeah.
works. If you're going to do the print thing, I think that's probably
Yeah.
the best way is to use a combination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So as we're talking about price, can we talk about this wonderful offer that you are making to our Indie Fringe viewers?
Yeah, so because obviously Ingram Spark are the gold sponsors of Indie Fringe, we decided up until the end of May, so 31st of May, we're completely waiving all the setup costs. So usually the setup cost of a print or a print and ebook is $49, which is around £35 for our UK viewers. But during the event and right up until the end of May, if they put in Indie Fringe 16, all capitals, when they set up their title, that will completely remove the setup costs.
That's INDIEFRINGE 16?
16.
That's right.
Okay.
And then for those who haven't got the book quite ready, and it won't be ready for some time, as a member of the Alliance of Independent Authors, we do offer discounts.
Mm-hmm.
For which we are very grateful. And indeed.
And we're grateful for allies as well.
Oh, thank you.